Hello and welcome to ashford.com. You are watching an interesting video on what is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. Motor neuron cells in the body degenerate and die. Please read this disclaimer carefully. What do Usain Bolt, Ethel Kennedy, Justin Bieber and the Cookie Monster all have in common? They are just a few of the thousands of people that have participated in the Ice Bucket Challenge, an internet sensation that has been used to promote awareness of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis in 2014. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, is a progressive neurological disease that causes muscle weakness and gradually impacts on the functioning of the body, leading to eventual death. It is also referred to as motor neuron disease or Lou Gehrig's disease, named after the famous baseball player who had the condition. The disease was first discovered in 1869 by the French neurologist Jean-Martin Charcot, but it was the impact on Gehrig's career in 1939 that truly brought ALS into public awareness. According to the ALS Association, almost 2 deaths per 100,000 population annually are due to ALS. In the US, about 5,600 people are diagnosed with the condition every year, with an estimated 30,000 living with ALS at any one moment. 3. This video will give you the essential details about ALS. You will also see introductions at the end of some sections to any recent developments that have been covered. Also look out for links to information about related conditions. Here are some key points about ALS. More detail and supporting information. ALS attacks nerve cells found in the brain and spinal cord. The average life expectancy of ALS patients after diagnosis is between 2 to 5 years. Experts are currently unsure what causes ALS. Common symptoms of ALS include weakness in the limbs and difficulties with speech and breathing. Muscle weakness occurs in 60% of ALS patients. ALS is usually diagnosed based on presenting symptoms while ruling out other illnesses. There is currently no cure for ALS. Treatment focuses on the alleviation of symptoms. As ALS causes a range of physical, social and psychological symptoms, multidisciplinary care teams are important. As well as physical treatment, it is important for ALS patients to receive social and psychological support. As of August 25, 2014, the Ice Bucket Challenge has raised $79.7 million for the ALS Association. What is ALS? ALS belongs to a group of diseases called motor neuron diseases. It is a disease that attacks the nerve cells that are used in voluntary muscle actions. Actions that we can control, such as those in the arms, face and legs. 4. As ALS progresses, motor neuron cells in the body degenerate and die. These nerve cells are called motor neurons and are to be found in the brain and spinal cord. As ALS progresses, these cells degenerate and die, ceasing to send messages to muscles, which in turn causes them to weaken and waste away. The brain's ability to control voluntary movement is lost, with all muscles under voluntary control being affected over time. As well as control of the arms, face and legs, ALS can cause people to lose the ability to breathe unsupported, often leading to respiratory failure. ALS greatly reduces an individual's life expectancy. It averages at around 2 to 5 years from the point of diagnosis. There are many examples of people living for much longer, however. After ALS diagnosis, around 20% of people will live 5 years or more, 10% will live for 10 years or more, and 5% will live for a further 20 years. 3. What causes ALS? Currently, experts do not know precisely what causes ALS. It can affect anyone, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity or geographical location. Cases of ALS appear to be inherited in up to 10% of cases, with the cases appearing to occur randomly. As well as inheritance, researchers are investigating several different possible causes of ALS, including the following. Disorganized immune response. The immune system may attack some of the body cells, potentially killing nerve cells. Chemical imbalance. People with ALS often have higher levels of glutamate, a chemical messenger in the brain, near the motor neurons. Glutamate in high quantities is known to be toxic to nerve cells. Mishandling of proteins. If proteins are not processed correctly by nerve cells, abnormal proteins could potentially accumulate and cause the nerve cells to die. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, NINDS, researchers are also investigating whether environmental factors play a role in the development of ALS. For example, a study reported that military personnel deployed in the Gulf region during the 1991 war were more likely to develop ALS than military personnel deployed elsewhere. Signs and symptoms. The symptoms of ALS develop at different rates for different people. The onset of symptoms can be so slight that they can be overlooked until they have developed into more obvious weaknesses or atrophy. Woman in wheelchair. ALS can make the leg muscles weaken, meaning that once simple actions such as walking can become difficult. Common symptoms of ALS are difficulty in carrying out daily activities, including walking, increased clumsiness, weakness in the feet, hands, legs and ankles, cramping and twitching in the arms, shoulders or tongue, difficulty in maintaining good posture and holding the head up, uncontrolled outbursts of laughing or crying, slurring of speech and difficulty with voice projection, difficulties with breathing and swallowing, in advanced cases. Muscle weakness occurs in around 60% of all ALS patients. Early symptoms often include clumsiness, abnormal limb fatigue, muscle cramps and twitches, fasciculations, and slurred speech. Symptoms will spread to all parts of the body as ALS progresses. Some people with ALS can also experience symptoms of impaired decision-making and memory, eventually leading to a form of dementia called frontotemporal dementia. Tests and diagnosis. There is no single test that can be used to diagnose ALS. Instead, a healthcare provider will make a decision based on the symptoms that are presented, alongside using tests in order to rule out other conditions that can cause similar symptoms. MRI scans can be used to locate problems such as herniated discs that cause symptoms similar to ALS. Electromyography, EMG, and nerve conduction study, NCS, can detect electrical energy in muscles and the ability of nerves to send signals respectively. EMG and NCS can be used to support ALS diagnosis and rule out peripheral neuropathy, peripheral nerve damage, and myopathy, muscle disease. Magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, does not reveal evidence of ALS, but can be used to show other problems that could be causing the patient's symptoms. These problems include spinal cord tumors and herniated discs in the neck. Doctors can also request that blood and urine tests are carried out, as well as tests on spinal fluid samples, extracted with a lumbar puncture. A muscle biopsy can be carried out in order to rule out myopathy. As well as the conditions mentioned above, the following medical problems can also produce similar symptoms to ALS, and thus may need to be ruled out prior to a diagnosis being made. Human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, Lyme disease, multiple sclerosis, polio, West Nile virus. The presence of both upper and lower motor neuron symptoms is believed to be a strong indicator of ALS. Upper motor neuron symptoms include stiffness and resistance to movement in the muscles and brisk reflexes. Lower motor neuron symptoms include weakness, muscle atrophy and twitching. 10. Treatment and prevention. There is no cure for ALS, and so treatment focuses on alleviating the effects of the symptoms and preventing the development of unnecessary complications. As the effects of ALS can cause a range of physical, mental and social changes for patients, it may be beneficial to have ALS care managed by an integrated multidisciplinary team of doctors. An integrated team could help to improve the quality of life with ALS and prolong survival. Riluzole, Rilutech, is the only drug that has been approved for ALS treatment by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. In some people, it slows the progression of the disease and may work by reducing the body's levels of glutamate. Doctors can also prescribe medication to treat many of the symptoms of ALS. Therapy support group. Support groups can provide emotional support for patients and carers alike. Physical therapy is helpful in addressing pain and issues with mobility. Low-impact exercises can improve cardiovascular fitness and a sense of well-being. Physical therapists can also help patients adapt to using mobility aids such as walkers and wheelchairs and make suggestions with regards to devices that can make getting about easier, such as ramps. Occupational therapy can help people with ALS maintain their independence for as long as possible. Occupational therapists can suggest adaptive equipment and assistive technology to enable people to continue their daily routines. Therapists can also train people to compensate for hand and arm weaknesses. Breathing therapy may be required as the disease progresses and the respiratory muscles get weaker. Doctors can provide devices to assist breathing at night, and mechanical ventilation is also an option. In mechanical ventilation, a tube connected to a respirator is inserted in a surgically created hole in the neck, tracheostomy, into the windpipe. Speech therapy becomes useful when the muscles used in speech become affected by ALS. Speech therapists can teach adaptive techniques when speech becomes difficult. Other methods of communication such as writing can be discussed, or more advanced forms of technology such as computer-based equipment. Nutritional support is important when swallowing becomes difficult. Nutritionists can advise patients and caregivers on how to prepare meals that are easier to swallow while meeting all of the individual's nutritional needs. Suction devices and feeding tubes can be employed to help individuals eating food orally. Psychological and social support is important for helping patients and caregivers with the emotional and financial challenges that are created by ALS, particularly as the disease progresses. Support groups can provide comfort through shared experiences, for both patients, family and friends alike. Notes and references. Thank you for watching this interesting video. This channel offers motivational, inspirational, valuable and informative videos to soothe, cleanse and inspire your health, mind, body and spirit. Subscribe this channel, to find lot of interesting videos on wide range of topics here. Stay tuned and keep watching.